ADR. Promoting dialogue. It's midday in Dakar, 1 p.m. in Abuja. Good afternoon and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world. We are live on wadr.org. Welcome to Newslink. Here are the top stories. Senegal celebrates its 5th independence anniversary with a call to service, patriotism and national unity.
En effet, l'histoire des nations nous enseigne.
Indeed, the history of nations teaches us that the development path requires sacrifices to be made collectively. I therefore call on each and every one of us to demonstrate resilience and patriotic commitment in the face of the many complex challenges that lie ahead.
The AES Confederation solidifies relations with Moscow as it announces the formation of a joint task force to fight terrorism. Security expert Mutaru Mumuni Mukhtar applauds President Mohammed's call for peace in Boko.
And so you need to begin to appeal to the people with a very, very deliberate kind of communications approach that allows the factions involved to listen and to lay down their weapons.
And Côte d'Ivoire's opposition PPACI party demands the dissolution of the Electoral Commission ahead of October vote. Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast and a warm welcome to our listeners in Ghana, the Gambia, Liberia, and Sierra Leone. Newslink begins in Senegal as the country today, April 4, 2025, is celebrating its 65th anniversary of its independence under the theme Towards Technological and Industrial Sovereignty of the Armed Forces. Marking the occasion, President Bassirou Diomaye Faye processed through a colorful civil and military parade held in the principal streets of Dakar, Senegal, amidst a jubilation and rich display of the Senegalese culture. It is the first of its kind for the Senegalese President Bassirou Diomaye Faye, who has invited several West African head of states, including Gambian President Adama Barrow and other ECOWAS representatives. On the eve of the Independence Day, Diomaye Faye addressed his compatriots to serve the nation with patriotism. Here's Abdoulaye Hassan reports.
In his address to the nation, Senegalese President Bassirou Diomaye Faye began by paying tribute to the Senegalese army at a time when the country is living in a region that has been hit by a terrorist crisis for over a decade. Senegal is one of the few countries still safe.
Votre engagement actif pour la sécurité nationale.
Your active commitment to national security, the fight against natural disasters, and the preservation of our strategic resources mean that Senegal is a nation armed to take better charge of its destiny. To this end, the technological and industrial modernization of the logistical and material resources of our defense and security forces is at the heart of our priorities.
Au cœur de nos priorités.
Bassirou Diomaye Faye then returned to the issue of the day, namely the country's economic situation. He called on his compatriots to tighten their belts, given the difficult situation he had inherited. Diomaye Faye was elected on a promise to reduce the cost of living.
En effet, l'histoire des nations nous enseigne.
Indeed, the history of nations teaches us that the development path requires sacrifices to be made collectively so that a better tomorrow can come. I therefore call on each and every one of us to demonstrate resilience, active solidarity, and patriotic commitment in the face of the many complex challenges that lie ahead.
Sur notre chemin.
In conclusion, the Senegalese president called for national unity and consultation. He also announced a new national dialogue, this time on political issues, in the days to come.
Abdoulaye Hassan with that report. Well, Senegalese have called for a better living standard as the country clocks 65. They called on authorities to improve youth employment and address high cost of food commodities. Senegal's 65th independence anniversary marks a pivotal moment under President Diomaye Faye, who is completing his first year in office. And my colleague Sankole Janko was on the field and has joined me in studio. Sankole, welcome.
Thank you for having me,
Now,
Christopher.
bring us up to speed. How was the atmosphere like when you went on the ground?
Just like the report states, it's a colorful atmosphere. Remember, this is Jomai Faye's fourth of independence as a president in full-fledged celebration. So people were really excited. Like I spoke to somebody who said, "Jeune president," that is a young president. So they are all excited, to attend to celebrate this 65th anniversary in colorful Senegalese traditional attires, with flags, all over the place. So they are really happy and then very, very hopeful, as things transpire there.
Who were some of the ECOWAS representatives that you spotted at the event? Because yesterday we know that the Gambian president is in town to also support this particular event.
Yes, I was able to spot the President Barrow, like you said. But there are, of course, other, a lot of regional, heads, around to come and grace the occasion with the Senegalese people. I also spoke to some Senegalese people as well, like you said. And then key among their concerns are, living standards. They want better living standards. They want improved employment, particularly among the young people. I spoke to somebody who said the only reason Senegalese are, using the canoes to use irregular migration is because there are unemployment opportunities, enough unemployment opportunities. They also want the living standards, the cost of, food commodities to go down. So these are some of the things, they will want President Jomai Faye's government to address.
Thank you very much, Sankole Janko, for bringing us up to speed what you saw on the ground today. Crossing over to the Sahel, a new joint armed forces will soon emerge to effectively fight terrorism in the region. This joint security initiative was revealed by Mali's Foreign Affairs Minister Abdoulaye Diop during talks with the Russian counterpart in Moscow. Recall delegates from the AES member countries are in Russia for a two-day mission that ends today, April 4, 2025. As Sankole Janko reports, the Kremlin has assured to deepen security, economic and bilateral relations with the three Sahel countries.
Abdoulaye Diop told a press conference in Moscow that the main objective of joint force by Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger is to confront the terrorist threat in the region. The Malian minister who led representatives of the Alliance of Sahel States during talks with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said defense, security and diplomacy and development would be the cornerstones of the proposed confederation. The aides, he added, consider Russia a strategic partner in these efforts.
La Russie est un allié de la Confédération des États du Sahel.
Russia is an ally of the Confederation of Sahelan States. We want to work to increase recognition of the Confederation of Sahelan States, both bilaterally and multilaterally. Many countries are gradually opening up to this possibility. We agree to institutionalize this ISA-Russia consultation mechanism and that the next section of these consultations should be held in the ISA space. We are also delighted to have agreed to establish a strategic partnership between the ISA and Russia on security issues, as well as on the development issues and diplomatic coordination.
For his part, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov expressed Moscow's willingness to contribute to the formation of the ACE joint military force. This assistance includes a guiding plan and the design of high-tech customized sophisticated weapons. Thursday's meeting also addressed the implications of the withdrawal of the Sahelian countries from the regional bloc ECOWAS. To minimize impact, Russia says it welcomes the harmonious coexistence between the two blocs and will help restore ties between them.
Sankole Janko filed the report. West African countries are among many across the world hit by the U.S. trade tariff declared by President Donald Trump. The universal 10% baseline tariff on all imposed or imports into America, according to Trump, aimed to rebuild the country's economy, dented by COVID-19 pandemic and trillions of dollars of debt. Countries from the continent were slapped with tariffs as low as 14% and as high as 99% by Trump's Liberation Day global trade chart. Francis Boniface has more in this report.
In West Africa, Côte d'Ivoire, one of the top two largest producers of cocoa, was hit with a 24% tariff, while Nigeria, one of the largest exporters of crude to the US, was subjected to a 14% tariff. Senegal, Ghana, among others, will also impose tariffs with varying percentage points for imports into the American market. Other African nations hit by Trump's reciprocal tariff drive are Lesotho at 50%, Botswana at 37%, Angola at 32%, South Africa at 30%, and Malawi at 17%. From the North African region, Libya was charged 31%, Algeria 30%, and Tunisia 28%. To boost Africa's economic stability and build resilience against shocks such as COVID-19 meltdown and global conflict, an economist, Professor Godfrey Bobkin, proposes a series of measures.
So, for instance, the EU must be there for Africa and not for the interest of the West against Africa. Then again, we have our own African continental free trade. We need to explore that market more. Let's see how we take advantage of that, increase intra-regional trade. And Africa must develop our common infrastructure, improve on the lack of fiscal connectivity among Africa. So we need, through the African Development Bank, to be able to syndicate big-ticket infrastructure transactions that would improve the connectivity within Africa.
China, Africa's trading partner, was hit with a 54% tariff. Russia was exempted due to current sanctions. It is worth noting that the universal tariffs appear to override the tariff-free provisions of the African Growth and Opportunity Act (AGOA), which has regulated much trade with Africa in recent decades, but is due to expire this September.
Francis Boniface filed the report.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Let's now take you to Côte d'Ivoire, where the political scene is fast evolving, with just 6 months before the October presidential election. From internal party rifts to leadership disputes, the climate is heating up following a request by the opposition PPACI party seeking the dissolution of the Electoral Commission. Katinan Kounin, president of the Strategic and Political Council of the African People's Party Côte d'Ivoire, claims such action will preserve social peace. Kone spoke during the party's forum on the theme Disputes and Irregularities on the Provisional Electoral List. Augustine Colley has the rest of the story.
The forum by Laurent Gbagbo's party comes days before the end of the electoral dispute, which opened on March 22, 2025, a phase Kone alleged is predisposed. He cited two main obstacles. First, the restriction of the number of offices in which disputes must be registered, and the second concerns the proto-leaguer. Kone Katinam questioned the reliability of the electoral lists, relying on the analysis of the PPACI's anti-electoral fraud watchdog, which he said identified more than 6 million people who do not meet the conditions to appear on the electoral list. The party executive also alleged that there are 2,000 people over the age of 160 on the electoral roll. According to him, the registration is botched, the litigation is biased, and the Electoral Commission refuses to revise the electoral roll under the law. The African People's Party, Côte d'Ivoire, considers the Electoral Commission's position illegal because Laurent Gbagbo is not on the electoral roll. Recall, the former Nigerian president Gbagbo was, despite an amnesty, removed from the electoral roll following his conviction in the Bissau robbery case. The Ivorian Electoral Commission has yet to respond to PPACI's claims of irregularities, but party militants will mobilize for demonstrations in Dabu on April 11 and 12, 2025 to demand change, Kone concluded.
Augustine Colley filed the report. You're still listening to Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM. And around the world, we are live on wadr.org. We are also live on Facebook at WADR English Service, as well as YouTube WADR News. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Senegal celebrates its 5th independence anniversary with a call to service, patriotism, and national unity. The AES Confederation solidifies relations with Moscow as it announces the formation of a joint task force to fight terrorism. And Côte d'Ivoire's opposition PPACI party demands dissolution of the Electoral Commission ahead of October vote. Still ahead in the news, security expert Mukhtaru Mumuni Mukhtar applauds President Mohammed's call for peace in Boko. We do have the guest interview and sports news. Stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Let's get to Ghana, where security analyst and executive director of the West Africa Center for Counter-Extremism has described President John Maham's recent call for peace in the people of Boko has called on President Mahama for the people of Boko to embrace peace as a crucial step towards achieving lasting stability in the area. According to Mutaru Mumuni Mukhtar, the active engagement of key traditional authorities and the involvement of security agencies represent a comprehensive approach to restoring calm and preventing further violence. Tension has been high in the Upper East region in recent times over communal conflicts. However, the Ghanaian president during the Eid celebration urged all factions to set aside their differences and work collectively towards a peaceful resolution. WADR's Nadide Tete reports.
On this holy occasion, where we celebrate the feast of Eid al-Fitr after the holy month of Ramadan, my brothers and sisters in Boko, let us give peace a chance.
That was President John Dramani Mahama on March 31, 2025, appealing to the people of Boko to give peace a chance. He made the passionate call during the Eid al-Fitr prayers organized by the National Chief Imam at Accra's Black Star Square. The president underscored the essence of Ramadan as a period of unity, reconciliation, and forgiveness, values he believes are crucial to resolving the long-standing conflict in Boko. It's not the first time he's made such a call. During the Independence Day celebration earlier this year, President Mahama reiterated the same appeal, urging residents to lay down arms and embrace dialogue. The Boko conflict, which stemmed from a protracted chieftaincy dispute between the Kusasi and the Mamprusi ethnic groups, has plagued the area for decades. The violence has claimed several lives and displaced many residents in the Upper East region. Notably, Boko was the first place the president visited after assuming office, where he reiterated his promise to bring peace to the area. Reacting to the renewed call for calm, security analyst and executive director of the West Africa Center for Counter-Extremism, Mutaru Mumuni Mukhtar, described it as a critical step towards achieving long-term stability.
In nearly all situations of conflicts and violence, in terms of bringing about peace, you first begin with communication. You begin with engaging with the people because a significant part of what is going on is influenced by the hearts and minds of the people. And so you need to begin to appeal to the people with a very, very deliberate kind of communications approach that allows the factions involved to listen and to lay down their weapons and to begin the actual engagement that can lead to resolution of the conflict.
He emphasized that the president's appeal, coupled with deliberate efforts to involve traditional authorities and enhance the presence of security agencies, points to a more comprehensive and coordinated approach to peace building in the area.
And that is why we saw, after the visit to Boko, the president also engaged the Asantehene, including subsequent engagement by the military and the Minister for Defense, Interior, and other security agencies to ensure that the Asantehene once again intervenes in terms of heading a committee that can oversee the peace process in Boko.
With renewed calls and coordinated efforts, there is cautious optimism that Boko can finally move towards lasting peace. For WADR, Nadidi Tete, Accra.
In Nigeria's federal capital, some residents are decrying the alleged violations of their rights as electricity consumers, despite repeated assurances from the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC, that it is committed to consumer protection and service quality. Complaints persist against the distribution company. WADR's Usma Uma has the details.
Before you can even get a meter now, you pay almost some area, you pay 200,000, 150,000, 100,000. Still, you're not even seeing the meter, they're still playing you the game.
For many residents of the Federal Capital Territory, erratic power supply, estimated billing, and poor response to complaints have become daily challenges. They accuse distribution companies of failing to meet service expectations despite regulatory assurances.
We cannot be operating on 3 different bands, band A, B, C, and yet people on band B barely see light. You can no longer cook food and put in your refrigerators because of the fear of it getting spoiled. You have less than 10 hours light per day. The low-income earners are the ones suffering for it.
The Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC, has consistently emphasized its commitment to safeguarding consumer rights. However, some residents argue that enforcement mechanisms remain weak, allowing distribution companies to act with impunity. Electricity market analyst Abubakar Ibrahim explains how consumers can address their grievances.
There is what they call the quarterly customers consultative forums, which they make all distribution companies to organize and then invites the customers to attend. I have attended so many of them, and some of them, when you go there, you see that the customers are not there. And the reason for organizing this consultative forum is for NEC to hear, that's Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, to hear from these customers, to know exactly what is going on. Yes, are you being billed properly? Are you being given adequate energy when your transformer got spoiled? Who fixes it? Are you the one that fixes it? So these are some of the channels.
While the regulatory framework provides avenue for complaints, many consumers say they are unaware of these channels or do not trust the process. As power supply remains a critical issue in Nigeria's capital, residents continue to demand accountability from electricity providers. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar reporting from Abuja.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Our guest interview focuses on the 65th Independence Day celebration of Senegal, which is under the theme towards technological and industrial sovereignty of the armed forces. Our guest is a political analyst and historian, Professor Gogui Jeng, and he speaks about the political stability of the country as it has not witnessed any coups. However, he called for stronger institutions, implementations of reforms that could lead to economic transformation of citizens.
Unlike many African countries, Senegal has never witnessed any coup d'etat. We have had since then, despite some turmoils, for example, the dispute between the Prime Minister Mamadou Dia and the President Leopold Sédar Senghor in 1962, and other events. But apart from those problems, Senegal has not really had any big problem regarding governance. We have been having civil government since then. Senegal has been somewhat a stable country despite some problems such as those witnessed from 2021 to 2024.
65 years of independence, what have we gained so far?
Well, I believe that Senegal has become a country, a state, a stable country with an administration which is one of the most reliable ones, even though we have got to improve it. The problem is we cannot have a country, even though it is stable, we put forward the interests of political parties. I believe that the state must be given more respect. If I consider, for example, this amnesty law, which is being questioned, which has been even cancelled and reinterpreted, this is, I believe, based not on the interests of the society as a whole, of the state as a whole, but on the interests of a group of people. And this is one of the weaknesses of the republic. We have got to recenter everything on the state. I believe that the state is not really given the place it should be given in our society. People give more importance to individuals, and this has been testified by the fact that the revision of the law, the interpretation of the law, lays the emphasis more on individuals rather than on the state. They believe that some people have been killed. Those who have killed them have got to be punished. How about now those who have tried to kill the state? Nothing has been said about that. And I believe that this is one of the weaknesses. And the democracy also must be revisited. I believe that as long as we have this kind of democracy, which give the whole power to one political party or to a group of people, there wouldn't be any peace in Senegal and in Africa. We have got to restructure our democracy and indigenize it. That is one. Second, economically speaking, I don't believe that Senegal has developed that much because in 1960, when Senegal achieved independence, it was at the same level as South Korea. Now, South Korea is supplying Senegal with vehicles, and Senegal is not able to produce those things. So I don't believe that economically, Senegal has improved its situation.
Senegal now has a new administration. In this new administration, he has actually rolled out some policies. We have the Senegal Development Plan 2050, and then among other new policies implemented. Want to find out that what do you think about the new administration? Do you think that the policies turned out in the right direction to turning the fortunes and the stories of Senegal?
Well, it is, I think, an exaggeration to say that there is a new administration in Senegal. What we have in Senegal is different, for example, from what we have in the U.S., when we can talk about the Trump administration, the Biden administration. Here, I don't believe that we can talk about the Faye administration or the Sall administration because the same civil servants are still there. Mainly, those managing, administering the ministries, they are still there on the whole. It is only some high-ranking executives who have been appointed to new positions. But on the whole, the administration remains the same.
Political analyst and historian Professor Gogui Cheng. And in sports this afternoon, Burkina Faso are the first team to secure qualification to the FIFA Under-17 World Cup after beating Egypt 2-1. The victory also secured a semi-final spot in the CAF Under-17 African Cup of Nations for the West African nation. Burkina Faso edged an already wounded Egypt 2-1 on Thursday evening to book their place in the knockout stages in the FIFA World Cup finals with a game to spare. Egypt will face Cameroon, who are on 1 point following their draw against South Africa in the afternoon, in what will be a highly tense encounter for the best place finish between the two sides. Meanwhile, host Morocco were held to a goalless draw against Zambia on Thursday night. With this goalless draw, Morocco and Zambia share the top of Group A with 4 points each. And we've come to the end of this edition of Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Mustafa Sek, Mam Kodu Fai, and Umu Danyugo for the technical assistance. Do interact with us via our social media platforms, X formerly Twitter, Instagram at WADR News, and on Facebook at WADR English Service. Coming up at the bottom of the hour is WADR's security program in the Sahel. And at 1 p.m., expect our second news bulletin and French info chez vous. I am Christopher Ticho. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to